Hello, welcome to Thursday Night's Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. My name is Daniel Comm, delighted as ever to be joined by a cheery Keith Jackson. Keith, happy
What?
Thursday.
Why are you digging me out?
No, I'm not at all. I'm saying upbeat, big weekend. Let's do it.
I'm fine. Hey, let's go.
Let's do it. Scott, it's good to see you. Scott McDermott's here as well. Scott, how you doing?
Aye, no bad, Dan.
I think we've got off on the wrong foot there. It's all off.
I think we did. Actually, what's happened is you've dropped a pre-show bombshell on me. I was still processing the ramifications of, and we'll need to speak after the show, Daniel.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about that after the show. During this show, we'll talk about predictions for the weekend. Huge weekend in the Premiership coming up. We'll hear from Derek McInnes, who's been talking to the media. We've got our very own three-way predictions for the end of the season too.
I'm interested in this.
Yep.
I'm interested.
Keith, Scott and I have all predicted how Celtic, Rangers and Hearts final three fixtures will pan out.
And you're the only one that knows the outcome of all three.
I've got them all here on three different little graphics I've mocked up. So it makes for interesting reading.
Okay.
Can I just say, I made these predictions in about 12 seconds flat.
Getting your excuses in early.
Honestly,
there's
ridiculous. Daniel expecting me to get into the future.
But there's a fair point there, Scott. In this season, where nothing is predictable, where everything has been upside down and through the looking glass, the element of risk involved in trying to predict. How many games was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. Aye, that'll go well.
Do you know, we'll come to that a little bit later on, but I think the best place to start, Keith, is with Danny Rohl and links today with Wolfsburg. Tell us more.
It's an interesting one. It's one that I'm not dismissing out of hand. I think the reports are coming out of Germany that Wolfsburg, they've had a real bad season. I think they're flirting with relegation. They're in the thick of a relegation battle with the potential to drop out the Bundesliga. Whatever happens, it does appear they're going to be looking for a new manager. Now, why this is really interesting is that Danny Rohl was a person of interest for Wolfsburg but just over 12 months ago. I think he was still at Sheffield Wednesday. There was some contractual issue. But Wolfsburg were really keen on him. Now, it makes sense if he was on the list then that he'd be on the list now. Where it becomes interesting is, as we've been discussing over the last few nights, Daniel, if I'm Andrew Kavanagh, do I think that I've got a decision to make in terms of Danny Rohl right now? Having looked at the way the season has ended, there are all these, or there might be nagging doubts about the lack of experience, which has perhaps contributed to the defeats at this critical point in the season against managers that are, not as wet round the ears. What I'm floating here is the idea that this might be an elegant solution for all parties. If Rangers think they might be able to get better than Danny Rohl, then what a great way to kind of bring everything to a conclusion. They get a fee from Wolfsburg for a start because Danny Rohl's under contract, so there's no payout this time. It's money coming in the way. And if you've got your eye on somebody else, or if you think somebody else might be able to do this job better, or if you've got doubts that Danny Rohl is the guy for next season and beyond, that would be a real clever, neat fix. Also, if you're Danny Rohl and you suspect that you might be coming under pressure here, unduly, you might feel, because he, as much as I've expressed some what I would call concerns about him, there's no doubt, there are mitigating factors, and there's also the bottom line that he's brought Rangers from a bottom six position when he took over from Russell Martin into a title race all the way into this late stage in the season. So he's done good work. But that's another thing that Wolfsburg might be looking at and say, we told you this guy was decent. He's done a good job there, solid. I don't think it's any better than solid, to be perfectly honest with you, but it's solid. And that might be a big tick in the box for Wolfsburg, and it might be a big tick in the box for Danny Rohl. If he thinks he might come under pressure, wow, he's got a shot at a club which, for the time being at least, is Bundesliga, and will certainly have ambitions of getting back into the Bundesliga, even if they did go down. And Danny Rohl, about a year ago, when he was still at Sheffield Wednesday and things were unclear, I think he gave an interview in which he talked about that being his priority number one. He wanted to get into the Bundesliga. That had always been his burning ambition. So if this thing was to come together, if Wolfsburg were to go to Rangers, if Wolfsburg were to offer money for him, if Rangers were satisfied that they think, there might be a better option for them, it just might all come together. I think it's one that's really worth keeping an eye on. I have to tell you, the word from Germany is he's one of about 5 or 6 names. I don't think he's the preferred option at this point. But given that there was a lot of interest in him from Wolfsburg this time last summer, you would think it'd be quite high up that shortlist. So yeah, I think that's one to keep an eye on. I don't know about you, Scott.
Hi, I mean, look, there's a lot of ifs and buts in there, but it is interesting. As Jacko's touched on there, the fact that it's Germany is obviously key. I know, and most people will know, Danny Rohl's family aren't in Scotland with him. He very rarely gets to see his wife and kids, so would going back to Germany suit him and his family more than Glasgow? Probably. I think a lot will depend if Wolfsburg stay in the Bundesliga or whether they go down. That might be a factor. And as Jacko says, probably the key thing in all of this is whether the Rangers owners are having doubts. There's nothing at the moment that would suggest that they are having doubts. I mean, we can talk about Danny Rohl and his performance as Rangers manager and where they are, and his good points and bad points. But in terms of the club, actually, having full faith in him, I don't see any kind of reason to doubt that at the moment. But if, as Jacko said, if Wolfsburg come calling and ask the question, then Rangers and Danny Rohl's going to have a big decision to make. So, as you say, I mean, it is interesting. It's one certainly worth watching, and it's obviously came about. It's reared its head at a time when Danny Rohl was beginning to feel the heat at Rangers.
I think, Scott, if you're Andrew Kavanagh and you were at Tynecastle the other night on Monday, you walk away, and even if you didn't have doubts before that game, despite the performance against Motherwell, even if you didn't have doubts, if you're still pretty secure in your own mind that Danny Rohl was the man that you wanted to take it forward, I can't help but think if you're Andrew Kavanagh sitting watching what happened at Tynecastle the other night, where I think he was quite clearly outmanoeuvred on the touchline, that would have been enough to give me reservations. And I say that as someone that before that game, Daniel, I said it a couple of times on here, as far as I was concerned, Danny Rohl was very heavily still supported by the Rangers boardroom, by Andrew Kavanagh. I think they have a good working relationship, but the evidence of his own eyes at Tynecastle would have given him some reason, I think, to reconsider. And all of a sudden, along comes Wolfsburg, and it might offer you the opportunity to maybe make a change that you might have been thinking a lot about since Monday night. But this time, the opportunity to do it by making a profit rather than paying out another huge severance package, which has been the Rangers' way. Remember, they had the same opportunity with Clermont, didn't they,
Yeah,
Scott?
Clermont,
The who was it? What, Clermont, and there was the opportunity.
Was it not Belgium? The Belgium national job?
I think it was the Belgian national job. Yeah, it was. You're right.
Yeah.
And at that point, it looked as if Rangers could make a few quid, but that fell by the wayside. I think Rangers weren't entertaining it. And then look what happened. So, I don't know.
Certainly, Jacko, I mean, you're right. Monday night is obviously huge in the circumstances, and that might have changed Andrew Kavanagh's mind enough. I don't know, but certainly in the kind of small dealings we've had with Andrew Kavanagh this season, it's clear that he really likes Danny Rohl, and he's got a lot of trust in him, a lot of confidence in him. I think they believe, at 37, he's one of, they'll think he's one of Europe's top young coaches. And I know initially that the work that Rohl did, when he first came in, just getting Rangers winning again, getting them moving back up the table, getting back involved at the top again. They were obviously really impressed with that initial impact. That's why they went and backed him in January with 10 million quid's worth of talent. And it was talent that guys that Danny Rohl wanted. These guys that were brought in, you look at their profile in terms of their age and their development, the type of players that Andrew Kavanagh and co would be looking at and think Danny Rohl's the man to develop them and ultimately make them better, make them more valuable. And that's obviously beneficial to the club. So certainly before the last couple of weeks, there was real confidence in the board in Danny Rohl. And I tend to, my gut feeling is that that will pretty much still be intact. I think that obviously there will be doubts creeping in because of what's happened in the last couple of weeks. But if you're asking me again, which you have previously, Daniel, I still think unless like an offer like Wolfsburg or someone else came in for Danny Rohl, I still fully expect him to be Rangers manager at the start of next season.
If Wolfsburg were to make an offer, though, it allows everyone to sort of extricate themselves from a difficult situation. Nobody loses face.
Exactly.
Rangers make a few quid. It can be packaged up as, we couldn't stand in Danny's way. We thank him. He's done a brilliant job. He's going to be an incredible manager. But obviously, as Scott said, he goes weeks and weeks, doesn't he, without seeing his family, because he dedicates most of his time here, just to total football matters.
Didn't realise that.
He's done it for most of his career. When you think about it, I mean, between Southampton and Sheffield Wednesday, obviously, we've been lucky enough to kind of speak to Danny Rohl kind of off the record at times, and I know it's a big thing. No, but he's obviously so focused on his career, so ambitious that it's just part of the job. But it's tough for him being away from his wife and his kids.
And if his long-held ambition has always been to make a name for himself in British football, but with one eye on being successful enough to earn himself a crack at the Bundesliga, if that shot was to come around, Danny Rohl might push for it. Who knows? So.
Yeah. Well, look, we've got plenty of comments coming in on this, and if you want to get involved in the conversation, hit us up with your thoughts. Let me throw a few of these at you guys. Rebel says, say what you want. Gerrard was the last manager Rangers employed to actually have them looking decent. John says, as a Celtic fan, people are questioning Rohl over Monday's game, but Rangers totally dominated the first half against the best team in Scotland, so all the people calling for his head are delusional. Marzuno, I think rather hopefully, says that unrest among Ibrox fans is brewing, usually impossible to turn around. Jimmy, brilliantly, thanks for this. Jimmy says you'd be better off with sausage roll. Thanks, Jimmy. I'll be telling that at dinner tonight. That's a good one. Colin says, if there's a God, then let this happen. The return to Germany. He's done at Rangers. And Matt echoes your sentiments, Keith. He says, if Rohl goes to Germany, it's a get out of jail card free for Kavanagh. The club needs a figurehead. And just very finally on that, the figurehead comment in McKenna says Rangers need a manager.
Wow.
Is
McKenna.
that not...
Listen, do you know what? This McKenna is playing a blinder. Is this... I don't know if he's got some part of Jamestown or he's something to do, but a lot of his comments, just as Hearts have been doing this, making this historic run for glory, McKenna's been spot on. That's one of the things. And another thing, and I know I'm going to go back to an old thorny issue here, but when Kevin Thelwell came in, he completely underestimated what Scottish football was all about, what Rangers Football Club was all about. He had an arrogance to him. He wanted to be the big dog. And part of that was doing away with the hundreds of years of tradition. Rangers have a manager. They don't have a men's team head coach of the men's team or so. What a way to devalue one of the biggest jobs in British football, being manager of Rangers. And that's something, if the Americans are looking at Andrew Kavanagh, Rangers should have a manager. And Derek McInnes, I know that Derek McInnes is taking the title of head coach at Hearts, but he's the manager. And that's exactly what I think McInnes meaning there. Title, no title. You need somebody that runs the club, that a figurehead, a guy that leads, not just some wee guy that's hired as a head coach. And that was another one of many of the mistakes that Kevin Thelwell made.
But on that,
done from sheer arrogance.
The thing about McInnes, he might have the same job title as Rohl, but he's got that aura. He's got that. But I mean, is it? Look,
that's because he fronts the whole operation up. And see, when you've got a manager who does that, a guy who does that, people are happy to fall in behind. No matter what your structure is or what your job title, if you've got a man that as an owner can have complete faith in terms of, to make the right decisions, whether it's how you want the sort of youth development run behind the scenes, how you want recruitment, how you identify targets. That's what a club really needs, I think, in Scottish football. Maybe it's not everywhere, but I still think, and maybe I'm just a dinosaur, but I do believe in that. I do believe that. Look at Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill's not a head coach; he's a manager.
Aye.
Derek McInnes, head coach might be his title. He's a manager.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Rangers are absolutely crying out for a manager.
Does Danny Rohl lack that aura, or am I being really?
I think so. Yeah.
You think so?
I don't want to turn this into a personal attack, but
of course.
And I think because that's not Danny Rohl's fault.
Mm-hmm.
That was Kevin Thelwell that decided, I'm going to be the big man here. People will answer to me. He didn't want to be answerable to anybody, and that's why that new position was created. When Rangers have always had a manager, and I firmly believe that's the way it should be at both Rangers and Celtic.
Jack, I totally agree with you. I mean, I was asked about this today, but whether they should change Danny Rohl, or then somebody was saying, but they need a manager. I've said that for years now. Rangers and Celtic need a manager, not a coach. They need a figurehead. They need a guy with aura and presence about him.
Mm-hmm.
The job at Celtic Rangers, I think, it's only my opinion, demands that. But the fact is, Rangers as a club have decided to go down different routes. No, you think about Steven Gerrard was probably the last figurehead manager that they had, and even when Gerrard came in, you didn't know that for certain. As much as you knew about his personality and character as a player, he hadn't managed a team before, but he grew into that figurehead role. But since then, when you think of guys like Van Bronckhorst, Beale, Russell Martin, Danny Rohl, these aren't guys with that aura and presence. They're coaches. No, they're coaches on the training pitch. And if that's the route you decide to go down, like in terms of Danny Rohl's future, if there's no point, if Rangers as a club decide, no, we now want a McInnes type, no, we want a Gerrard type, you'd as well just get rid of Danny Rohl now rather than wait to maybe October, November or whatever, and you need to make another change. But if you've not changed your opinion on that, and that he's the type of coach that you want, then there's no point in replacing him now, because
personally, Scott,
for the next guy.
Personally, Scott, what I believe is that Andrew Kavanagh will be, when he went into the club, he was concentrating purely, focusing on getting the takeover done, getting the business side of that deal, and it was a very complex shares deal. And he delegated, and I think he's had cause now to look back and think these are mistakes that were made. I trusted the wrong people. I gave big decisions to people that I thought knew what they're doing. And in retrospect, looking back, reviewing, and as all good businessmen should, a year in, you review, what did we do well, what did we do badly, what mistakes have been made. I think he's conducting his own review here, and I think he's unpicking just about every decision that Kevin Thelwell made. So, is that the sort of one of these decisions being, the creation of the head role, the head coach role? It might be. I don't know. I'm speculating to a degree, but I do think that there is a review going on of everything that has happened to get Rangers to this point, and whether or not the right decisions have been made along the way.
In the comments, Speed says Rohl going to be a great manager. He inherited a mess with the squad, got us back into the title run. He does need to learn how to influence a game from the sidelines, but it's in his locker. Your Muppet says at least Rohl picks the players he wants. McInnes gets what Bloom gives him. John says Andrew Kavanagh.
That's not true either. That's not true.
I know I was going to say that.
Actually, when you look at the Hearts side over the last few weeks, there's not very many Jamestown players that are actually in that starting 11.
We talked
Braga
about
is obviously the crown jewel in terms of Jamestown. How you pick that one up is extraordinary, and it's entirely down to James. But actually, guys like Stuart Finlay, do you think Derek McInnes needed Jamestown to find
Shankland, Milne
to talk Shankland into staying in the first place? That wasn't done by an algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
That was done by a manager.
Yeah.
These are the influences. These are the big decisions. These is when a manager wields influence. If it wasn't for Derek McInnes, put it this way, Lon Shankland wouldn't be at Hearts, and Hearts probably wouldn't be on the verge of something truly historic.
In terms of Rangers, Daniel, I mean, Shankland is the perfect example of that. I mean, I know I've been getting on about this for so long, but Rangers, whoever's made that decision at Rangers not to sign Lawrence Shankland on a free transfer last summer.
Kevin Thelwell, Scott, is the answer.
Serious questions need to be asked. And know that, not only not to sign Shankland on a free, knowing about the player and about the environment and everything about the situation, not only not to sign him, but to then go and spend £14 million on 3 strikers, Sharmiti, Majovski and Nadiri, none of whom are as good as Lawrence Shankland at this moment in their careers. I mean, you're talking about decision-making, Jacko, and owners looking back at things and what they could have done differently. I mean, if that isn't top of the list, recognising that Scotland's best striker and top scorer in the league was available on a free transfer and more than willing to move to Ibrox, and Rangers make that decision in-house, by the way, and there was analysts involved and people that shouldn't have been anywhere near that decision. we're telling people at Rangers, nah, this isn't for us. I mean, I don't know all the facts, but I can just imagine people, within Rangers looking at Lawrence Shankland's running stats and his age and stuff like that and saying, nah, he's no for us. And then they go and sign, as I say, Sharmiti, Majovski and Nadiri. Honestly, I mean, that decision alone, unforgivable. You think of the context of the league this season, the goals that Shankland scored, against Rangers and everybody else. You look at the goal the other night, the finish is just out of this world. I finished it with no scene. We've no seen for any of the Rangers, that type of finish.
His overhead kick was all right.
That's a different type of finish, but
yeah,
that finish for Shankland was top draw. And as I say, if there is a review and people are looking back at decisions made, that one has to be. I mean, that one's going to be right up there, surely.
By the way, not only a free transfer, but his wages were extremely manageable. And exactly. I would, without knowing exactly what's getting paid to the current guys in there, I'm happy to speculate it will be a fraction of it. I think Rangers could have got Lawrence Shankland for 10 grand a week.
And I'm not saying anything that's not been written before, but Barry Ferguson, I think, has been pretty open in saying if he get the job, he wanted Lawrence Shankland at Ibrox. Yeah. And that's totally understandable for a guy. You say what you like about Barry Ferguson as a coach or a manager, but he knows exactly what it takes to win games in Scottish football, and he knows a good player. I mean, listen, it's a whole other argument about, and it's been mentioned this week about Rangers' lack of Scots, lack of identity, whatever. But there's something in it because Rangers started pretty much a title decider at Tynecastle on Monday night without a single Scot in their team. In fact, Hearts started with 5 and brought another 2 on. Now, I'm not saying that alone wins you that game, but in that type of game, in that environment with what was at stake, I definitely think it played a part in it, and that's something that Rangers Rangers have to look at going forward. But they've been so shoddy in their decision making in recent years, missing out on guys like Lewis Ferguson and Shankland and others. It's going to take them a while to recover for that.
I tell you what, Scott, if nothing else, if they did have some Scottish players out there, those boys wouldn't be seen dead, laughing and joking after the final whistle, after they'd just blown a title. And that just shows the lack of connection. And I think football clubs, particularly in Scotland, you need to have the connection. That's one of the things that has underpinned these years of dominance at Celtic, is that everywhere around Lennoxtown, there are people who are not just connected to Celtic, they live and breathe Celtic, whether it's the ground staff, whether it's, the coaching staff, whether it's Callum McGregor, the captain, whether it's James Forrest, people who are so connected to the club that it's unbreakable. And Rangers don't have any of that.
No. Well, look, you mentioned there, Keith, Hearts stand on the brink of history. We caught up earlier on today with Derek McInnes. I think we can hear from the Hearts boss now.
Motherwell have been probably as problematic as anybody for Hearts this season. How do you beat them? I know you did it the last time, but again, that was a really strange game, that as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, and again, I thought Motherwell were really good for 15-20 minutes in that game, really strong, and they carved us open a few times. So, but they're a team who constantly test your organisation throughout the game. And they can make little subtle tweaks and little different ways of playing that can maybe test your organisation. They will look a lot at how we press the game normally, and they will try and counter that. I think it's been well. I'm not the only opposition manager to sit before you play Motherwell and see how well they've done. They're a good team, well coached. They look like a confident team. They look like a team who enjoy playing and what they've been asked to do. So that goes without saying. But I think they've also got very good players. I sometimes think that gets left behind. It's all about how well coached they are and how they play, the style. But they've actually got really good individual players as well. So for that, they haven't beaten us this season. I know you're saying they've been problematic, and they have, but they've been problematic for most teams. But we have to be honest, in all three games they could have beaten us in all three of them. But we've managed to do our job well enough for long enough in all the games to pick up points against them. And this game, as I say, will be tough again for loads of reasons. They are a team who, as I say, you have to be so on point with your out of possession work, because if you're not, they're the type of team that can punish you, and that's what happens when you go up against good teams and well coached teams.
With each game that goes by, does each game become more important and tougher, maybe?
Well, I think we've dealt with the pre-split games really well going into it. We wanted to get into the pre-split games in good form. We've dealt with the first two games. I did say arguably the Hibs game away was our toughest game, and for obvious reasons, and we've managed to win that one. Obviously then we play Rangers and there's so much on that one, we win that one. So they're all tough, and I think anybody who thinks otherwise hasn't been watching this season. The top six games, everything's got to play for. Motherwell so much to play for, Falkirk midweek still so much to play for, and then obviously Celtic loads to play for. So they're all important, but the most important one is this one.
There would be a huge step though, would it not, if you get a win on Saturday towards the ultimate goal? Who
knows how big a step? It's a step. It's just 3 points, and we can't get obsessed with all the different connotations and what happens there. If we win that one and they win that one, that's not our thinking. No time for that. We've just got to concentrate. The message to the players is just concentrate and try to win a game against Motherwell.
Manager of the year today as well, Derek. Congratulations. How does that make you feel when 12 months ago you came in and here you are?
Yeah.
Two Manager of the Year awards now.
Yeah. Obviously, when you get into a new club, you just want to try and get off to a good start. I think it's important for any manager, but for any manager, it's operating at any level, any club. You still need good support around about you. But and I've had that. My relationship with Graham Jones and the board have helped that, but relationship with the players has been way more than that. It's been so strong from from the start, and I think the players have deserved. They're the biggest driver for any individual awards. You know, we've had obviously a few lads nominated and things like that, and plenty of recognition throughout the season. So it's nice to pick up the award, and you know, good support staff here. None more so than Paul and Alan, who are obviously vitally important to me, and so it's an award for everybody really.
Derek McInnes there, he doesn't really seem like a man under too much pressure, does he? Seems to be kind of quite cool, taking it in his stride. If you're in the Hearts dressing room, that must be a pretty cool, you know,
Head coach of the year.
Aye.
Head coach of the year, was it?
Head coach of the year, aye.
He said it himself, manager of the year. Derek McInnes knows the importance of the word manager in the context of Scottish football. And he speaks brilliantly there, doesn't he? For a guy who is so close to something so historic, he is keeping calm. He's keeping a lid on his players. He's keeping them focused. That's management. That's man management. And Derek McInnes has proven himself to be absolute expert. It's no wonder he's getting the rewards or the awards, but that won't matter to him. I'm sure he'll be, you know, personally delighted. It's nice, but he's not in this for manager of the year gongs. Now, there's something far bigger at stake, and what he has to do is to keep his players with their feet in the ground, keep them humble, because they've not achieved this yet, but they are so close. And I just love the way that he handles himself in these press conference situations. He looks like a guy you can believe in. If you're one of his players, you believe in him. And that's such an important part of it. And I'm not sure, to bring it back to Danny Rohl, that he enjoys the same level of kind of faith amongst the players in his own dressing room. I think it's just such a crucial factor.
Aye. Well, look, anyone that was watching last night, Keith, would have heard us both say that we were going to compile those predictions, not just for the Saturday night's game or Sundays, but for Hearts, Rangers and Celtic's final 3 fixtures of the season. And we said at the top of the show, each of us have done it. Nobody knows anyone else's predictions.
Here comes the big reveal.
Scott's trying to get his excuses in early. I thought we'd go with yours first, Keith, if that urge. Want to go with yours, Scott?
I go with mine first.
Right.
Let's see it.
Let's see it.
Have a laugh.
So this weekend you went for Motherwell 1, Hearts 2.
Yep.
Celtic 3, Rangers 1.
Yep.
Hearts to beat Falkirk 2-0. 2-2 at Fir Park between Motherwell and Celtic. Rangers beating Hibs 3-1. That's on Wednesday. And Saturday, the 16th, the final day, Celtic 1, Hearts 1, Falkirk 2, Rangers 2, which would leave Hearts top of the table on 83 points and champions.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, Keith?
Hearts are champions on the Wednesday night then, Scott?
Yes.
Aye, they would be, aye. Yeah,
Yes.
You're right.
Yeah.
Would you think, Keith? Happy with that?
I think he's gone a roundabout way, but I've also got Hearts tying up the title in the midweek card.
Well, let's have a look at them. Keith, you're going for 2-2 this Saturday night at Fir Park and 1-1 on Sunday at Celtic Park.
Mm-hmm. Rangers can go there with no pressure and they'll enjoy that because they can't handle the pressure. So they'll be free. They'll give Celtic a really difficult game.
And Hearts will beat Falkirk 3-1. 2-2 at Fir Park as well. Rangers to see off Hibs at Ibrox. And you've went Celtic 2, Hearts now, Falkirk 1.
Hearts will be on a 4-day bender by that point. And really will not be caring. Martin O'Neill will want to go out on a bit of a high, even if it's not the high that he would have wanted. But it's preparation for the Scottish Cup final, which will give him that opportunity. So
you would have Keith's champions, Hearts on 80 points, 2 ahead of Celtic, and Rangers in third. Right, now mine, right, I wasn't trying to be funny. This is genuinely, I just went through each game. Right, so
how many points did Celtic win the title by before the season?
I'm a Man U fan. Motherwell, now Hearts won this Saturday. I think Motherwell will have enough. I think Celtic will see off Rangers 2-1. Hearts will beat Falkirk, but I think Celtic will win at Fir Park. I think Rangers will beat Hibs. Celtic on the last day won 2-1, and that will leave them both on 82 points at the top of the table, and it will come down to goal difference.
So who wins it?
Who wins it in goal difference?
I think it will be Hearts. When you look at it right now, they are 5 goals better off than Celtic. Can you see Celtic making up 5 goals over them? So I think Hearts and goal difference.
Well, you've just given us the scores. What do you mean? You can't see it.
I haven't counted up the goals. Hearts, Celtic don't
Right.
make up 5 goals in those games.
Right, so you don't think then? So by your predictions, it's going to get into Celtic Hearts. Celtic Hearts title decider last day of the season. Celtic need to win the league by winning by 2 or 3 goals, but you don't think they'll do that?
No,
No.
I don't think they've got. I don't think they've got that in them over Hearts. I think it will. I can't believe it. That didn't even occur to me earlier.
Thought this one through, Daniel.
I was so pleased with my graphics and that, guys. But no, I do think that they will end up tied on points, but I can't see Celtic making up 5-6 goals in the remaining 3 fixtures over Hearts. And obviously they don't in those fixtures.
No, they don't.
So it looks like Hearts and all 3 of us are going to be champions.
Aye.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for watching.
I think I must say I do think Hearts now will go and win it, but I think it'd be dangerous for Hearts to get into your scenario of having to go to Celtic Park and get something to win it. I just think, I know Celtic haven't been great. No, they're not a great side at the minute. However, last day, Celtic at home, 60,000 fans. I think I'm right in saying there's only 900 Hearts fans will get to go to Celtic Park that day. If Celtic need to win, the power of Parkhead, Martin O'Neill, a team charged up by Martin O'Neill.
You're so right, Scott. You're so
Honestly,
right.
I think that would be difficult to deal with for any team. No, and that's taking
It'd be an absolute barrage.
Honestly, it would be really tough. So I think Hearts will obviously want to get it wrapped up if they can before then. And as I say, I've just got a feeling. I think Celtic will win on Sunday, the Old Firm game, but I got a feeling Firth Park might be the game they slip up in.
So here's
I think it's such a dangerous fixture for Hearts if it is still on the balance on the final day.
That's what so you both think that Hearts will win it with a game to spare. If they don't, would you then fancy Celtic if going into the last day? I guess you've just said you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, it depends what the differential is at that point.
The necessity is, what's required. But as I say, I just think from Hearts' point of view, you wouldn't want to be having to go there, having to get something or having to get a specific result or no lose by a certain amount of goals to try and get over the line. I just think that'll be tough, given the circumstances.
It would also bring back, wouldn't it, for any Hearts fan old enough to remember it? Evoke memories of '86, and that they were not pleasant memories. Celtic ran riot that day when they needed to score the goals to win the title.
Aye. You can see there on the screen, Opta, that's the stats from Opta. They've got Hearts 74% chance of winning it. It's going to be mental. This weekend, though, that was for the rest of the season, but here's this weekend's fixtures just before we round up. Obviously, the big one is Sunday and Saturday night. But St Mirren Kelly down at the bottom, that kind of playoff for the playoff place.
It's another massive game for Kilmarnock, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who do you think will come out on top in that?
Form guide says Kilmarnock all day long, doesn't it?
I'd probably need to go Kelly as well. I think St Mirren are struggling, I must admit.
Kelly going a point ahead.
Somebody said to me, I think this is correct. Somebody said to me that Kilmarnock have had 7 wins all season. 5 of them have been under Neil McCann.
Well, they definitely had 7 wins all season. Can see that on the table, but that makes sense.
I think 5 of them under Neil McCann.
That's mad.
So that points you to a team in an upward trajectory rather than one. Although everyone's precarious at this moment in time, at this point in the season, but certainly the form guide would strongly suggest that the least that Kilmarnock will take from that game is the point that they need.
The other fixtures there, Falkirk Hibs, Dundee Livingston, Aberdeen, Dundee United. Falkirk Hibs an interesting one, or is it an interesting one? I'm kind of...
No.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely no relevance to anything. Well, it does. I'm being facetious.
If Falkirk top the game up here.
If Falkirk beat Hibs, the leapfrog them in the league table, I think.
Yep.
In terms of the race for Europe.
Yep.
Fifth,
And it should.
it's always Celtic.
Mildly.
If Celtic win the cup, fifth is getting you into Europe, isn't it? So
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
not a bit to play for.
And on that Celtic Rangers game at the weekend, it hasn't really been mentioned that if Celtic do beat Rangers, that guarantees them second.
Yeah.
And a crack at Champions League qualifying.
Yeah.
So quite big in that respect as well.
If I was Danny Rohl, I'd probably not tell my players that, by the way, guys, we're still going for second place in the table. Oh, pressure.
You're laughing. That's the thing. That's why I think Rangers will lose the game, because I think there is pressure
There's
on them.
still something on it. Yeah.
Something big riding on it, and I don't know. I just feel I have heard people saying that since Monday that the typical Rangers, they'll probably go to Celtic Park and get a result.
You said it yourself.
That's pressure off. I did. I mean, I suppose looking at this, how flaky they've been, it would probably make sense. But again, I just think Celtic, with so much at stake, with that crowd behind them. Rangers lost 2 in the bounce. They're shitting goals. I just find it hard to make a case for Rangers to get something Sunday.
If Celtic were to win by a couple of goals, Scott, does that make you sway a little bit about Danny Rohl? I know you've said that you think no matter what, he'll be there at the start of next season. If he takes a sore one at the weekend,
I do. What I think is, and I've said to you before, Daniel, I thought if Rangers would have fought hard post-split and finished second in the league, even narrowly losing out to Hearts, I'm not saying people would have been happy, but I think Danny Rohl would have into next season with a lot of support and a lot of backing, not just for the club, but for the fans as well. But the way this season's ending, post-split, 2 defeats already, taking a sore one at Celtic Park will guarantee third spot. I just think that's putting massive pressure on him at the start of next season. I still don't think a decision. I still don't think they'll sack him in the summer. I think he'll still start the next campaign, but there'll be massive pressure on him at the start of next season. And me and Andy were talking about today. The first Old Firm game next year is at Celtic Park. I think I'm right in saying the first time they play Hearts will be at Tynecastle. They'll definitely have an away game opening day of the season. You would think they'd have an away game for opening day of the season. So, I mean, he would need to get off to a flyer at the start of the next campaign, because if he doesn't, and they were to lose 1 or 2 of those games, I think he'll be under massive, massive pressure.
well, look, whatever happens, we'll be here to cover it all on Hotline Live. But I think for tonight, that brings us to the end. Keith, we'll be back on Sunday.
Yeah.
Reacting. What time did you say there?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask you.
4.
4. We'll go for 4. Yeah.
4 p.m.
It's a 12 p.m. kickoff at Celtic Park, isn't it? Or half 12. So we'll be back at the earlier time on Sunday at 4 o'clock. Scott, are you at the game? If that
changes, you can inform everybody through the medium of social media.
I'll stay.
By the way, before we go,
yep.
See, remember a few weeks ago, you asked me and Scott who was going to win the Champions League.
I did.
Uh-huh.
I think I said PSG, didn't I? And then I thought,
no, you didn't.
Arsenal, mate. No, in fairness, Keith has said, you've said PSG pretty much from the day after they lifted the trophy last season, it feels like. Yeah. But Scott did say, I remember, it wasn't just a few weeks ago, it was the first night of the Champions League. I remember at the group stage, I said, who do you fancy? And Scott said Arsenal.
Great shout. Great shout. Must have.
I mean, ultimately, it's a losing shout, but, did well. Yeah. Good run. They gave you a good run.
I don't know. I think you never know.
Arsenal defence, Jacko. Extra time and penalties, here we come.
Well, that's certainly been the game plan.
Well, as I say, we'll be back on Sunday to pour over all the weekend's action. But for tonight, thanks very much for watching and getting involved. We appreciate it. Scott, Keith, it's always an absolute pleasure.
Cheers, Dan.
See you Sunday, Dan.
We'll be back Sunday. Thanks for watching.